We're ready and recording.
So we're ready?
You're ready. You're ready now. Thank you.
Well, we'll call the meeting to order for this June 30th meeting of the Board of Education. This will take place in our July meeting that we traditionally have. We will take the month of July off. So with that being said, I'll start with roll call. Start to my right, Dr. Kim Simmons.
Present.
Vice Chair Diane Eldon.
Present.
Chairman Josh Roden, present. Ms. Polly Jones.
Present.
Mr. Keith McClure.
Present.
And if you all will, join me and we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next, we have the approval of the agenda. Do we have any additions or anything for the agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Do we need to add the bonus discussion to our agenda?
We can add, if you want to, we can add after a closed session, just a short closed session. So after number 8 at the end of the agenda, if you want to add a closed session under that. Anything else? Hearing nothing, I'll entertain a motion to approve the amended agenda.
I make the motion that we approve the amended agenda.
Have a second?
Second motion.
Any discussion or comments? All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries. Anybody for public comment?
There were no people for public comment.
All right. We'll continue on into action items. First, we've got the minutes of the last meeting. I'll entertain a motion to approve the closed session minutes of the June 7th meeting as well as the board meeting for June 7th.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion that we approve the closed session minutes for the June 7th and the regular board meeting minutes for June 2nd.
Second.
June 7th.
Have a motion and a second. Thank you. Any questions or additions to the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries. Next, we've got a memorandum of understanding with the mental health services in Ashe County.
So this is a similar MOA or MOU. This one's MOU that you signed earlier this year for the 2021 school year to provide ABA services. So this would be the same MOU that you approved at the beginning of the school year. And this, of course, provides ABA services to eligible students, which are typically autistic.
How many do we have?
I don't know the answer to that. I can find out though. We had quite a few that were eligible.
I know there's really good things said about PA.
5. We have 5 at this time currently. Thanks, Terry.
That was quick.
That's quick.
Do I have a motion to accept the MOU?
I'd like to make a motion, we accept the memorandum of understanding with this group.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries. Next, we've got policy 7240, the drug and alcohol-free workplace. We reviewed that last meeting. And I'll turn it over to Dr. Cox. I think our attorney has made some suggestions for a revision of that.
So highlighted in the policy is what changed. And so rather than having the specific drugs called out in separate paragraphs, he changed the language to be what you see highlighted there. Only that first paragraph is what changed. And so, of course, we would update the date updated. But these were Fred's suggestions.
Do we have a motion to accept this policy?
I make a motion that we accept this policy.
Do I have a second to the motion?
I'll second the motion.
Any questions or discussions?
Some discussion. I'd just like to go on record by saying that in regards to CBD, that the Hemp Farming Act of 2018 was a proposed law to remove hemp defined as cannabis within less than 0.3% THC from Scheduled 1 controlled substances and making it an ordinary agriculture commodity. And that's where North Carolina law stands at this time. Its provisions were incorporated into the 2018 United States Farm Bill that became law on December 20th, 2018.
Is there going to be any confusion about the synthetic cannabinoids, if my pronunciation is correct, and the CBD? Is there going to be any kind of confusion about that?
The clarification should be between whether it is hemp, it is derived from hemp or marijuana. If it's derived from hemp, it should be, okay.
I
Right?
just want to make sure.
I believe you are correct.
Yes.
I'm not an expert in, this, but I believe you are correct. Obviously, when it comes to a drug and alcohol-free workplace, if at any time, whether it be prescription drugs that their doctor prescribed to them or an illicit drug, no matter what it is, if they're over an amount or being used improperly, then they cannot do that as an employee of Ashe County Schools. So anyway.
And I think that we were wanting to make sure that we protected our farmers in our county.
Any other questions or discussion?
Well, we amended this policy in April, and now we're changing it 3 months later. Are we holding our students to this same standard? Are we letting our teachers and students to the same standard? And when you talk about drugs, what drugs are you talking about from B, C, D, and it can be any drug?
Well, I think there's a pretty comprehensive list there, but it doesn't matter what the drug is. If it changes mood, alters mood, causes euphoria, any type of drug that would do any of that, whether it's legal or not, if you are under the influence, you can still have consequences. So even if it's a legal drug and just taken inappropriately, if you come under the influence to work or to school, then absolutely there are consequences for that. So I think this protects everybody in that situation, but I think the policy before even addressed like growing or farming, some things that are now legal. And we're not talking about marijuana, we're talking about CBD products, which the law did change. And I think the law changed prior to us even adopting the April policy. So it's at the wishes of the board to change it to something more generic. And Fred is the one who has approved this particular amendment. And you're not the only school board that has wanted such a change in the language, according to Fred.
But if you take CBD, those little gummies, in my research, and you take a drug test, it throws back marijuana.
Only if it's over 0.3% THC.
Okay.
And legal CBD derived from hemp is not over 0.3% THC.
So it backs more than that.
It's not being manufactured or grown or whatever appropriately, and it's supposed to be, and it is regulated.
They say those little gummies throw you over into marijuana use if you take them.
So we've had some drug tests come back from people who were wishing employment with Ashe County Schools, that they said that it was the person who submitted to the drug test said that it was CBD. But if it's throwing that it's off on a drug test, we're not going to hire them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Okay.
That would fall back on the producer of that
Yeah,
product.
yes, that's why you're
Product
careful on
regulation.
where you buy your product.
I understand there's much inspection, a lot of controls, a lot of testing for very valid CBD producers. It's not like growing marijuana, and they test it all along through the process, not just one time. So they're testing constantly to make sure those levels are not too high.
We're not, I certainly don't want to be a part of blurring the lines, but I do want to support our farmers in the area. And if you work for the school system, that was my concern, that, you know, you could still farm or work in a store that sells legal product, legal, yes.
Yeah, if somebody's doing something that's not legal, that's a completely different issue. And we certainly don't want to blur those lines at all. We're not going to accept that in Ashe County schools.
Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of the policy, raise your hand.
Well, I don't know.
Motion carries. Next, we've got the exciting stuff, budget amendments. So,
And before Amanda speaks, I just want to commend Amanda and her team. June is a really tough month for finances. Not only are we still in the midst of summer school and planning for next school year, closing out this school year, having auditors on board, and really making sure that every I is dotted and every T is crossed means a lot of extra hours. So thank you to Amanda and her team. And you know, it happens all year long, but June is especially, it's especially long hours. So that, and then with the bonuses that we gave all employees, I know that provided an extra duty to her team. So we're really thankful to you all for the work that you've put in.
I have to give kudos to those ladies. Y'all know one of my girls is out having cancer treatment right now, and they have really come together as a team and covered each other and taken care of each other and getting the job done for sure. But also, you know, just continue to keep Cindy in your prayers. She's really struggling with her treatment and very sick right now. So we're a little family within the CSS family, and they're very special to me, as the girls are. And just want what's best for them. But they worked hard this year. It's been interesting. If it's life or crying, we'd rather laugh.
Well, and then to get the budget so close that our amendments are so few on a year when we have a lot of unpredictable things to happen.
I think
You know,
that was the
kudos
grace
to
of
the
God right there. So you got your amendments kind of late yesterday. They are literally hot off the press. We were writing checks up until that moment to make sure we had accounted for everything. So the first one I'm going to talk about is the state, and it's relatively small compared to some of the amendments we've had in the past. The majority is related to just small adjustments the state does throughout the year, all year long. And then also, you know, part of the CARES Act money flowed through state funds, the CRF funds. So around $60,000 of that, 150 is related to CARES Act.
And remember, we have to carry them on our budgets, even if they're not sitting in our accounts, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So do you have any questions on that state budget before we move on to current expense? Or the local budget, as everybody calls it?
I don't see any heads.
Current expense, the adjustment you see in the 7,000 series of 30,000, that covers the child nutrition portion of the COVID bonus. We don't generally spend that much out of current expense for child nutrition, but when we approved that bonus, or when you approved that bonus on the 7th, that triggered the need for that amendment to be able to pay the bonus for those hardworking folks. And then the 8,000, the non-program charges of $25,000. Our charter school enrollment has been up considerable this year, mainly due to COVID. Charter schools never closed down at all. So people put their children, we were as high as 43 students at some points in the year. Started out, I believe, with 37 students enrolled. You know, Charter schools is another place where we're losing quite a bit of money. We've probably spent $75,000 this year just paying the local portion of our charter school students. And that doesn't take into account what the state has already taken off of our allotments for charter schools, which is a significant amount of money. So any questions on the local current expense budget? Federal, another small adjustment, 6,000 series, and that was basically because of the CARES Act money coming in. Spent a lot on PPE. So the PPE is paid out of the 6,000 series because that's custodial and maintenance type items. Capital outlay, that's $650,000. That's a big number. What that is we are required to book the expenses that the county has paid on our behalf on our books, even though the money did not flow through us. It's an accounting rule. It's one of those things that don't quite make a whole lot of sense, but again, we have to show it on our books each year. Last year it was a little over $900,000 that the county had paid on our behalf that we booked. Any questions on that? It's also the middle school payoff on those 6 classrooms, the 6 new classrooms at the old building. That's paid off now.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
I know. I was like,
Yeah, it's the first thing I asked her. I said, wait a second here. I think about half of that I was aware of.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
enlightened me.
Child nutrition, again, this is one of those very weird accounting rule things. And if you remember when Mike White was here in the fall, he talked about the liability on retirement that we have to book on our books, even though the state treasurer holds the retirement money. We have to make sure we have enough funds in that 7,000 series to cover that retirement liability, even though we're not paying that money out of our funds. So it really throws your financials off, makes it look skewed because it's not really our money. He did say when he was here that he thought that might be going away. When he was here a week before last auditing, he said that that was probably not going to happen, that we're probably still going to have to carry that on our books for a while.
And that's always dependent on how many people retire.
Yeah, it is. With the switch to the new software, which will happen in 2 weeks, along with the auditors being here for their second portion of their audit. So I said we're a glutton for punishment in finance. I think we've cleaned up a lot of those liabilities. So I think our numbers are going to look a lot better when we had to do all the cleanup for the new software. So hopefully child nutrition will look a little better this year. And then the final one is local fund 8. This is basically an in and out fund. It's where our special grants are, small rural mental health, the DOJ grant. The adjustment is in the 6,000s is related to the DOJ grant we got after we had already approved the budget resolution for the year. So that is where that comes from. And then the non-program charges is the endowment fund grants that we've paid for it would have been for the prior year, but we paid it in this year to cover those. And was there something else in the 8,000? No, I think that was it.
Any questions for Amanda? So I'll entertain a motion to approve the budget amendments for this year.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion to approve the budget amendments for 2021.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the approval, raise your hand. Motion carries. We'll just keep rolling through here. We've got a contract for in-school nursing services.
So again, this is in our exceptional children. Oh, there's Sherry.
Gotten promoted. Good afternoon, board. As part of our requirements under the Individual Disabilities Act. If a child is entitled to receive a related service such as nursing services, that we have to meet that requirement for that student to access their education. We have 2 students in our county this year that require that service, and I'm requesting permission to move forward with contracts and with the agency to be able to fulfill that duty that is required by law.
Do I have a motion to accept these contracts?
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion we accept these contracts for in-school nursing services.
Do I have a second to the motion?
Second.
Any questions or discussion for Ms. Richardson?
I had a couple of questions, of course I do, Terry, but do we not have any local folks that can provide these services? I know these are coming from Hickory.
Yes. Not at this time, and we also look for cost efficiency. And at this time, this program is the most cost efficient for the services that are rendered.
Okay, and in the contract, it says something about availability of nurses. What happens if we do not have the availability for these guys under this contract?
We continue to search and have to pay more for services that are out there. I have contracts that offer or request more funding than this organization for the same services. So I would have to probably utilize somebody that we would have to pay higher funds for.
So is that ever happened to us with this group that we've
No.
not had availability?
This is our surrounding counties also use this organization, and I used them 2 years ago, and there wasn't a day missed of services.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Richardson? Hearing none, we've had a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the contract, do so by raising your hand. Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Richardson. Oh, you're coming back, aren't you? Yeah, later on. Next, we've got on here interim budget resolutions.
So each year, on June 30th, we have to pass the interim budget resolution to continue operations into July. As you know, we do not have a state budget. We are not even close to having a state budget. The Senate, the governor presented his, the Senate has presented theirs, and the House has said they will have theirs by the middle of the month. Now, if y'all been here a long time, you remember when they fought it out until October. I suspect that that's probably about the time we're going to see a budget, if we see a budget at all. They may end up passing some of the mini budget bills like they've done in the past. But this allows us to continue paying salaries and our bills and going forward.
I have a motion to accept the interim budget resolution.
I'll make a motion that we accept the interim budget resolution.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion?
Can we fuss at the State Department?
That's all our representatives.
Yes.
Make phone calls, emails.
Yeah, we need to.
All right, anything else? All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries. Now we've got contracts here for physical therapy services, occupational therapy, and speech and language therapy. Now Terry's back.
Hello again. I was like to present to the board the contracts for continuing services with previous contractual personnel that we've used for many, many, many years that have provided a wonderful service. Again, by meeting the IDEA law, we are required to provide related services. And it's very, very cost efficient to be able to contract for an OT and a PT because of the number of students that are being served versus hiring one full time. And then also for the speech and language services, it's an overflow from the requirements that our school personnel meet. They meet their requirements of 50 students apiece, and anything above that, we have to move forward with another position. And by using the contractual services, we also are providing a very cost-efficient mandated service to the students.
Do I have a motion to accept these contracts?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion that we accept the contracts as presented by Mrs. Richardson for the physical therapy services, occupational therapy, and speech and language therapy.
Second motion.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Motion carries. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Terry, you stay on, just stay
Yeah,
on.
she's back. Yeah,
I'm gonna make her tag team with me on the NC PreK.
okay. Well, I figured I saw PreK. So next we have North Carolina pre-kindergarten contract.
So this is literally hot off the press.
press,
We
literally.
did not get it. We're supposed to get it on Friday.
In fact, I have to sign it today.
Yeah, and get it back to them, but this is the standard contract with NC PreK, the Department of Health and Human Services, to provide pre-K services. Right now, we have 3 subcontract providers that provide pre-K services, and then our site at the Early Learning Center. We did lose one site. Mount Jefferson decided they did not want to participate with us anymore. So, you know, it was sad to see them go because they were one of our very first, and they've made that choice, and we just have to keep moving forward. But we're going to go. We're going to serve kids. Terry, how many have we got enrolled so far or eligible? You're muted, huh?
Sorry about that. Letters will be going out next week, and between all sites we're at, we have slots for 132, and we're at the, I'm trying to count in my head. We're about 50 to 60% with all sites.
You know, any 4-year-olds, start recruiting them. If you see them in Walmart and they look like they're 4, tell them you know about a great program.
When the letters go out, then we get flooded because everybody wants into the program knowing that it's out there. We have advertised at Walmart, at churches, at every corner of the county and stuff. But people are still a little bit shy of the COVID situation, even though we ran 5 days a week full time. But we still get calls every day for pre-K. So we are excited about this year, and we hope, and we feel that the numbers will continue to go up.
If you're having a bad day, just go over and visit Terry's site because it'll make your day better.
Yeah, let me, do I have a motion to accept the NC pre-kindergarten contract?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion we accept the North Carolina pre-kindergarten contract.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions?
Terry, this contract is what we've seen before, right?
Yes, it sure is.
Will we be able to add more positions since Mount Jefferson is not going to provide those services?
What happens is either we did site selection, which means any center that qualifies to be NC PreK site can apply to be a site. Unfortunately, none of the other centers, except for the ones that are already participating, applied. So what will happen is we can, we've got more capacity in our site to have more children, or we can also disperse more slots out to the centers that are already participating. So in our contract, we get 133. We need to strive to get the 133 regardless of where they're placed. The private sites get the capacity, can't take more. So usually it ends up coming back to us, and we end up either opening another place or doing something to be able to serve kids.
And our goal is to serve as many as we can.
I love the pre, I mean, you can tell when I talk, but I love the pre-K program. I think it's one of the best things we do. It was one of the first things I did with Junior Cabinets when I come here, was get that up and going over to Early Learning Center. I think if we can get it as early as we can get them, we can save them on track. It's one of my favorite things.
Any other questions? None, all those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Motion carries.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Have a good afternoon.
Next, we've got on here a request for new CTE equipment. Would that be Mr. Pennington?
Is for Earl. So I'll go ahead since as Earl gets on.
Mr.
but
Pennington, he's coming in right now.
Okay, good.
Okay, I got here. I went through some type of black hole or something, but I'm here now. So, hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'm here again to request permission to utilize the 21-22 CTE allotments to replace 2 pieces of equipment. This goes right along with the lift that we're currently installing and that we purchased back a few months ago, and we're looking to replace the tire mount, the mounter for the tires, and then the balancer. It's 2 different pieces of equipment, but they work hand in hand together. The equipment we have, one is faulty. If we put a new wheel on there off of some of our new vehicles, it could possibly damage the wheel, and then the balancer itself, the motor in it doesn't work, so we need to replace both of those.
Do I have a motion to accept the new CTE equipment?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we accept Mr. Pennington's request for new CTE equipment. Seems that, like he needs it desperately.
Do I have a second to the motion?
Second.
Any questions or comments for Mr. Pennington? I'm hearing none, so all those in favor of approval, raise your hand. Motion carries.
All right, thank you, board.
Thank you. Next, we've got here the North Carolina Driving School contract for drivers' education services.
Okay, so we put out a RFP to multiple providers in the area. And I got some good feedback. I thought we were going to have 3 or 4 proposals. People called, yeah, send me the RFP, but when it come down to submitting it, we only got one, and that was the NC Driving School, and that's who we're currently using. They had a little struggle with COVID, but I think they finally gotten on board, and they provided us with some more instructors this summer to catch some of the kids up that need to drive. And Fred has looked at the contract, and Mr. Moore is agreeable to the changes of the contract that Fred recommended.
Do I have a motion for approval of this contract?
I move we approve the driver's ed contract for the upcoming school year.
I have a motion second.
I second the motion.
Any questions or comments?
I do have a couple of those. I know parents were not happy with this driving company because they did not drive those students until past their eligible birthdays, and they were very, very unhappy with that. I'm hoping that this is approved. There's another thing that's sticking in my craw, guys, and it refers to special education students. And I'm sorry, but that term is derogatory to me. I do not want to approve any contract that still refers to student as special education. That's about a zillion years old. That's the way it used to be when I graduated, but I would rather us to refer those students as students with accommodations rather than special education services, because their special education or their education has nothing to do with their driving ability. Most times it often has to do with how they learn in the classroom. And I've had many, many students who could outdrive me, probably could right this moment, and I do not like for them to be referred that way in this contract.
So we can change it to exceptional children's services. That's what the State Department uses on
That's fine.
most of their language. And usually it's for students with physical disabilities who need accommodations from
That's why
a
I
driving
suggested
standpoint. So, yeah.
And I would hope that attitude is not reflected in the language they use. They just did not know which terms would be more appropriate.
Who drafted, did they provide this contract? Provided a template, and then Fred went back and reworked it. Now, I don't know whose verbiage was I'd have to go back and look at Mr. Moore's template.
Probably an old one.
Mhm.
Yeah, and you know, as private companies.
So
usually don't keep up
we
with
can
it.
absolutely change that language.
Well, I have no problem with the contract itself if those other issues are resolved, because you take a 16, almost a 16-year-old, and they haven't driven yet. They drive their parents nuts that they want to
Mine's
get
gonna
driven.
be
And
6 months late getting his license, and it's just
oh yeah,
driving me
it's-
crazy.
Mine's
the
like
worst-
getting his license too.
the
It's
worst
all because of
tragedy in the
COVID. It's all
world.
because of COVID.
Okay.
So,
Is that the reason they gave for this year not driving with the students?
They got,
It is.
they were not prepared for online teaching,
Oh.
and it took them, gosh, 3 months at least to get up and
it
going
was a little
online.
longer than that.
And then by that time, you know, you've had kids already behind, and
Well, and then you had to have kids to physically show up. And that was the online, and they had to be there. You had to have the video to see them. And that was a part of them being able to deliver it online. So there were some barriers that were unexpected. And we're not the only ones who suffered in that way. But then from a driving standpoint, the biggest issue was the driving. We had very few people who could actually drive students, and then there were some fears,
that
and
driver did not feel, he was older.
he was older.
Did not feel comfortable during COVID driving. So
So,
he stopped doing that. So we were sharing one with Watauga, which was not good at all. And then about April, they got
March.
2 drivers that were dedicated just to us. And then they're going to get.
But it took a while to hire them.
Yeah.
On their part.
I know we have a local company that provides that services. Could we not convince them to, I've heard really, really good stuff. Could we not convince them
You're talking
to?
about Blue Ridge Driving School.
Yes, ma'am.
I talked to him and I thought he was going to apply, and then he called me back. Very nice, sweet man. Called me back and he said he just didn't think he could handle any more students at this time. And probably too for the same reason. I mean, he's serving Wilkes County, and then surrounding county parents are bringing kids to him. He probably has more students than he can serve.
And I think we sent it to 8 different companies.
ones, yeah.
So
What, is there a limit on how many they will serve as well? Because I thought I noticed something in the contract, 20 something.
I think in classroom settings or
Mhm.
at different times, yeah.
So they will have classrooms at different times, so they have accommodated all of our students that need that service.
I think they're pretty
they're
close to.
pretty close to on track at this point in time. They were behind for a while, so they may still be making up, but I think they've gotten enough on track because there were a lot of families that went off the mountain and to different services in order to get driver's education when we couldn't provide it.
Which I hate that because they ended up paying about $300.
It's expensive.
That's why we, Larry and I are pretty cheap, so that's why we held out. Of course, Eli's not happy with us, but he'll be all right. Mama gets to drive him a little longer.
So I've got a motion and a second. Do we need to amend the motion for the change in the contract?
We'll make sure the contract's
Okay, so,
changed.
okay.
Yeah.
All right,
It's
so with
not-
those changes in mind, all those in favor of the contract, raise your hand. Motion carries. Got a memorandum of understanding with Ashe County Youth Football.
So earlier this week, and last week, so earlier this week, I met with David Kuntz and Jake Brown and Mitchell Mash about and Dustin Farmer about the MOU that we have currently with Ashe Youth Football and the need to update one for the upcoming year. They use our facilities, but from a middle school perspective, they do middle school football. It's not something that we currently facilitate the team of our, we don't currently facilitate the team of our own. However, under this agreement, we want to make sure that our student athletes are still all held to the same high standards. And so the Ashe Youth Football has agreed again to ensure that they are following those same standards for all of our children. The only difference that is not yet in this MOA, but I wanted to get it posted, was that the calendar timeline for middle school football needs to be set by the Blue Ridge Youth Football League, and that's because they do start earlier than what the DPI states in middle school. And this will allow them a safety timeline for workouts and hitting. And please, David, jump in here if I've said anything wrong, but it will allow them to set those calendar dates appropriate for the start date of football. Is that right, David?
That's correct.
There you go.
Okay, do I ask for a motion to approve the Ash Youth Football MOU?
I make a motion that we approve this MOU.
I second the motion.
Any questions or discussion? And this is just for this upcoming year.
It is just, it's 1 year at a time. We did not have one last year. Obviously, we didn't play football the year prior. This MOU is similar to the year prior. It has been updated from a COVID perspective, and of course, Fred has approved that. The only change to what's actually written on the MOA is the middle school football about the calendar itself. So that timeline is based on a discussion that took place on Monday, in which everybody was a part of a Zoom. So I feel comfortable with that, and they're still going to uphold the standards that we want for all of our Ashe County students.
So do we know who is responsible for assigning or getting volunteers for the gate duties? And who is that? David?
No, that's
No, that's not. It's supposed to be on the football
It's on the football league.
It is. So is it just parents? Is it parents?
It's the Blue Ridge Youth Football League. The Ash group arranges the volunteers to work those gates.
Okay. And essentially they do the gates and then we have the concessions. Is that correct,
Yeah,
David?
our athletic boosters provides concessions at the games that we host on Saturdays.
Usually ask.
Okay.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Motion carries. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, next we've got on here a request for curriculum and instruction materials and funding for professional development. That's a mouthful.
Hey, I'm sorry.
Good
afternoon. Hey there. Yes, per board policy stating that we need to get anything over 25,000 approved, I come to you with the request for, yes, that big long mouthful job, Mr. Roten, of curriculum and instruction and professional development for this school year. And so you have that list before you, so I will not read it back to you since it's quite extensive.
And there'll be more.
Yes, there will be more as the year goes. I just try to, knowing that things come up at different times, I try to think of as much as I could so we wouldn't have to wait a whole month to get things approved. C&I usually is the brunt of money, of course, because that's what schools are about, curriculum and instruction, and making sure our teachers are prepared to instruct. And so I guess my department does take quite a bit of that money, but we use it wisely and for our students.
And many of these, especially like the 5-year textbook adoptions, it is literally over 5 years. I mean, those materials will last us that long.
Well, do I have a motion to approve this request?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I will make the motion that we approve this request for curriculum and instruction materials and funding for professional development.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Mr. Chairman, I second the motion.
Okay. Any questions or discussion?
Yes, Julie, talk to me a little bit about designing engaging work and why that was chosen as our professional development.
So back in January, we did a survey to the teachers. Well, it wasn't January, it was actually midwinter probably. And we asked them what their greatest needs were. And so the greatest needs, and we saw this last year too, and part of it's COVID, but I think it goes beyond that. But the greatest need was motivating and engaging students. And so when we were looking for PD, we looked for people who could customize. And so what I really like about the idea of the Schlichte Center is that it's not like a program, it's strategies. And so teachers take what they already have and they learn how to make it better. So we have all these tools, and I think teachers, in fact, said we have all these tools, but now we need time to use them and learn how to use them more effectively. And so that's what this kind of training does. In fact, they will bring lessons that they have already, and they will be taught strategies on how to make these lessons more engaging. So if it's a difficult topic that you're in math, I can name many, but in biology, well, any subject, those things that are toughest to teach, this training will help them come up with lessons that will engage the students.
So how long does this program, I mean, is this just 1 year of staff development, or is this carried over more than 1 year? Of course, you know what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about thinking maps, and how does that, are we going to do it in 1 year?
Well, because this is this is not just one tool. And, the thinking maps, they use those maps for different purposes throughout that training. Some was for writing, some was to break down standards. But it's what you're doing is engaging, designing work in all content areas, bringing in all the different tools. So like if we have discovery or the big ideas math, or even iReady, it's taking those things we already have and just making them better. Sometimes our students get bored and they zone out. We have to think differently and design our lessons to keep them engaged the whole time. We have to know that we have a good blend of digital, hands-on, product-based, project-based. And yes, teachers still have to be content experts, but students are not going to sit for 90 minutes and listen. They've never been too good at that. I'm not too good at that either, but in a 90-minute block or even a 60-minute block, we have to make sure we use that time effectively and keep them engaged that whole 90 minutes and not let any of that time go to waste. So yeah, we don't want to drop any kind of training after 1 year, but it's in no way repetitive. And because the training incorporates the district and the admin giving teachers time to develop these lessons and share them with each other, we wouldn't want to drop it after 1 year. But this year, teachers will not be getting subs. It's the training is planned at the beginning of school and then on a required work day. So part of the thinking maps, I think that teachers don't like to be out of their classrooms, even though there's no good time to do PD. They don't like to be out because they need that classroom time. So I think the way we're doing it and scheduling it this time is very effective. And then they're going to have time to work on the work during their PLCs or department meetings.
So we wanted this to be something that teachers could actually use, not something that you just learn about and then hope you have time later to incorporate it into your lessons. So they're going to have time to learn about it, but they're going to be bringing their lessons and actually work on it in grade level or subject level groups while they are there. So therefore it's more practical, so to speak. So they're applying it right away and they have something that they can take the next day into their classroom and use. So we want our teachers to they've asked for time, they've asked for more collaborative time. They've wanted to collaborate across schools and across, or within their school and have that time. So this actually gives them the time, the practical time to plan, but also those engaging strategies that they've been asking for. There's a PDF that we can send to you that has some more in-depth information on the Schlechte Center and their practices. I've utilized them before with core content areas at the high school level. And then of course, with administrators as well, pretty effectively. Elementary teachers were begging for it when they heard the high school teachers and what they actually got to do, because they weren't reinventing the wheel. They were able to take the things that they do well and make them better.
This company isn't new, it's just changed its pace a little bit, because I can remember back in the late 90s, I believe, is when it first surfaced. And we did a little bit of that then, Julie, that was before your time. And so I like the idea of it. I just wanted to know a little bit more about it from your perspective.
Yeah, and I'll be glad to email you, each of you that, because if they did a good job, like I said, they customize it for a district. So it is the Ashe County plan, and I think it would answer all of your questions. And it's very detailed in how they're going to cover it step by step. So I'll be glad to email that to each of you.
I'd like to see that.
And it aligns to our strategic plan. Engagement was
That's what I was gonna ask.
It was completely through the strategic plan, and this aligns directly to it. So we want things to be aligned, and we want we have great teachers here in Ashe County. We have teachers who know what they're doing, but when they're asking for strategies to motivate kids and just to enhance their work, we want to give them time to work on the work and the strategies to do just that. And we hope this, will be ongoing. This will give us a good start with 2 days, but not back-to-back days, because you need time to digest it and put it into place and then say, oh, what was that I needed? And then our administrators will be able to support them, because they're getting the leadership PD as well. They'll be able to support them in the PLCs so that this work can continue on into the year.
Well, Julie, thank you for your hard work. And if you have any questions about the $25,000 authority or whatever, just let me know. I'll be happy to talk to you about that.
Okay.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval of the motion, raise your hand. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we've got on here a request for approval of the child nutrition bids for this upcoming 21-22 school year. Everybody's just doing that.
Okay, it's not just me.
So is Martha coming on, Amy?
I am here.
Oh, can't see you, okay.
Can't see me, but I'm here. Video. For some reason, I do not have my video showing it. Wait, here we go. There we go.
There you go.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm coming to you with our annual request for approval of new bids and bid extensions for the 21-22 school year for child nutrition. And you should have a document that details each of those bids.
Yeah, we do.
Yep.
Okay, well, I'm going to ask for a motion for approval of this.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion we approve this request bid rollover.
Do I have a second to the motion?
Second.
Any questions? Food is what food is, sounds like.
That's exactly right. And we'll move forward. Thank you so much.
I have a question.
We got one question.
Oh.
One question.
We're going to go ahead and do the vote, and then I have a question
Okay,
for
all right,
Martha.
we're going to do a vote. All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries. We got one question.
Martha,
Yes.
who was responsible for feeding our children during the summer school program this year?
What do you mean, who was responsible?
Who was the workers? I wanted to make sure that they were recognized because I just appreciate them so much.
Well, we have several that either are working first or second session. I mean, I can tell you who's worked the first session if you'd like me to. Okay. At Westwood, we have Patty Richardson, Donna Faircloth, and Jackie Tyler. At Blue Ridge, we have Roxanne Roten and Mary Jane Cox. At Mountain View, we have Nita Absher, Deborah Cox, and Kim Osborne, and this is for the month of July. We've had Tammy Woods and Linda Sloan and others at the high school that have volunteered to serve breakfast and lunch to our high school students. Westwood caters those meals. Blue Ridge caters the meals to the middle school, and I have gone and done breakfast and lunch there. Except for one day I didn't do lunch. Angie Thompson did that, and Mr. Farmer and teachers, and Fawn Rourke has helped. Different ones have come in to assist with that. So, and then I had Melissa Calhoun and Amanda Carpenter helped last week. And then going into June, we have Melissa and Amanda starting out at Blue Ridge, and I think that's our main changes. Is they'll be at Blue Ridge, and then Roxanne will return. She has vacation planned the 5th, and so we may have to pull some other folks in, but I just appreciate them all, and they've worked very hard because it's been a few kind of a slim number of folks working, but you know, we've made it work, and I'm proud of them, and it's just been a joy to be with our kids. I will be honest with you. One day when I drove down to the middle school, in the morning, I saw the buses passing, and I just had to be thankful, and it brought tears to my eyes because I thought this time last year we weren't able to do this. We weren't able to bring our children to school and have class, and you know, I'm so thankful. So thankful. So I appreciate you asking, and I'm glad to recognize them. I will say some of our child nutrition staff they were unable to work this year because they had vacations and that sort of thing scheduled. So I'm hoping that if we can give them, if we have our schedule for summer learning next year a little bit earlier, we can give that to them and maybe not be quite as tight on labor. That's what I'm hoping for. But
Thank you, Martha.
Thank you all.
Got a little insight to that. I do have one person I know very well at Blue Ridge who happens to be my mother, but some administration in some of the schools, she's been at Blue Ridge. I think she's been very taken away by Miss Louder and her willingness to assist them in the cafeteria. That just really surprised her.
Absolutely. I did not mean to leave anyone off. So thank you, Mr. Roten, for recognizing it. Without our administration in this past year, it would just not, administration and teachers, TAs, bus drivers, child nutrition could not have done what they did. And the support of the board, the support of our central office, we're all very grateful and thankful because we come together in Ashe County and Ashe County schools to take care of our children. And I'm just very proud to be a part of a system that does that. And I'm proud to work with colleagues that are willing to step in and take care of our kids no matter what it takes. So thank you. And I apologize for anyone that I did not mention.
I will say on a funny note, ended it, Martha's probably heard this, and I know Dr. Cox got to meet my mother the other day.
And I had not put two and two together until then.
She had.
Well, she looks far too young to be your mother.
That means I look old.
It does not mean that.
My mom
young.
has made the comment that it was not near the nightmare that she dreamed. So it has went much better than she even imagined, with not as many people working. She said it has went very well. It's a big undertaking for all those folks to do all those schools. So just thought I'd let you know a little what I hear every morning. But thank you all. Keep moving on down. We've got some student teaching MOUs. Liberty University and new teacher support through ECU and ASU. And I see Roy there. Mr. Putman.
Good afternoon, board members. I hope you're doing well. You have 3 documents in front of you. 2 are from Liberty University. One's from practicum interns. The other one's for student teachers. And then the third one is for our new teacher support program agreement renewal for our coaching for our beginning teachers, which was approved last year by the board. Attorney Fred Johnson, he's looked over all these. He's approved these MOUs and agreements. I just wanted to submit those to you for your approval.
Do I have a motion to accept these MOUs?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I will make the motion that we accept the MOUs from Liberty University and the new teacher support from ECU and ASU.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second motion.
All right. Any questions or comments for Mr. Putman?
Yes, Roy, I just saw ECU instead of ACU in that MOU. Did I miss something?
No, you're right on. Good for you for catching that. So East Carolina manages the grant that houses the new teacher support program, and then they subcontract out with all the other universities like ASU. So our partnership is with ASU, but the person who's in charge of the grant, the head of it, Pat Cornetta, that whole grant system, I think, was set up through ECU.
Well, that's good news, because the next question was going to be, why isn't Appalachian doing it again? So thank you.
No, actually, ASU is actually hiring a couple new, I believe they're going to hire a couple new instructional coaches to come out and work with BTs, because there's been such an influx of districts really latching onto this idea, because it's a really, really great idea. Of all the 20 BTs that I surveyed this year and asked them what's the single most important thing that we provided for them in their experience as a BT, over half of them cited the new teacher support coaching that they got with Karen Walker and Betsy Rosenbaum from ASU. So I think it's worth its weight in gold.
So we're going to do a lot of that in person and not virtually. I saw virtual mentioned in the MOU, and
Yeah.
They learn better than I do virtually, because that was not a happy place for me.
Right. Yeah. So but prior to COVID, it was pretty much all exclusively done in person. And there's some emailing back and forth and personal Zooms. This year, the time was split up maybe 50-50 or 60-40, just depending on where school systems were with their plan A, B, or C at the time. I know Karen Walker and Betsy, their hearts to be in the classrooms, and I know that they've really helped along some of our beginning teachers, and I've grown a lot just working with them and seeing what all the tools and resources they have and they provide. Also with this, every single one of our beginning teachers are going to be afforded the opportunity to go to the BT Summit each year. So that's included in that. And then along with that, there's, I think, 4 or 5 professional development sessions that we as a school system can ask for. So if we need classroom management training, if we need help with teaching exceptional children, what have you, they're going to come in and provide that, not just to our beginning teachers, but also to other teachers who need that as well.
And I will echo what Roy said as far as it being invaluable. The best teachers that we get, for the most part, are from Appalachian State University, hands down. I found that even in my other places that I have worked outside of this area. And the fact that our new teachers are supported by people who know what they're doing at Appalachian State University, and they can continue to support new teachers. I'm very thankful that that's a decision that Roy, brought to us last year to say, hey, we need to continue this and make sure all of our new teachers have this level of support. So we're thankful for Appalachian State University. It really helps us stay ahead of the curve and helps our new teachers be successful.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Motion carries.
Thank you.
I guess we'll don't go anywhere. You're next too. So we'll go on into personnel.
So the personnel items are attached. We had to do an addendum yesterday, but you have both of those documents in the assembly. So if we're just requesting your approval of those positions.
Okay. Do I have a motion to accept the personnel agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion, we accept the personnel recommendations.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments for Mr. Putnam? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Next, we've got updates. We'll start first with the new Ashe County Middle School update.
So we're getting closer to putting a shovel in the ground for our new middle school. The pre-qualification cutoff is in 2 days. And so we should have, with all things going the way they need to go between now and Monday, bid opening should take place at 3 o'clock on July 29th in the auditorium of Ashe County High School. So if we don't get 3 bids, which I anticipate having more than that, but if we don't, our backup date will be August 5th. And then our guaranteed maximum price date is August 13th. I've been in communication with Adam Stone through the county and ensuring that we have all of our information together to take to the LGC. So Mike Kesterson, who is our CMAR, and I sent some information to he and Larry Green to make sure that we have that information on the day that we need it, and they are working on it as we speak. So, Monday is going to be a telltale date to make sure we have everything we need. But I've also been in communication with the state, letting them know that we are on track, and Larry Green even responded that he would have the documents that they need shortly. So it's coming really soon. So we should be able to put shovels in the ground in August.
Any questions for Dr. Cox on that? We'll just keep going. Back to school event.
Back to school event. So Amy is actually going to talk to us about the back to school event. Amy and Jerry and I have visited sites and talked to different people. We want, last year was, it was a year. And so we want to really reinvigorate the excitement for learning, the excitement for teaching. We want to start 2021-22 school year off with a bang. And Amy's been really working hard. I don't know if you have news for us. We don't have all the dates set yet. We have another meeting tomorrow that maybe that will come together. But we want to give free haircuts to kids and free shoes and school supplies and t-shirts that highlight graduation and really the things that we want to promote here in Ashe County. Amy, take it away.
Oh, that's great. I think you hit a lot of the key things. It's communication, it's excitement. We're just really are excited to bring, something fun to our kids. We want to be able to see, all of our students face to face, all of our parents face to face. So we want to celebrate that and celebrate coming back to school. And we want to make sure all of our students are prepared and they have what they need to be successful in school. And I think that's a big key word right now. We want our students to be successful. We want to encourage them to be successful all the way through. And that, that means having a goal to graduate high school. And part of this is, we've always heard if you have your own children, it takes a village. And so we want to incorporate our businesses and our community because it's going to take us all. And we want to celebrate all of us, making sure our students are successful. So I'm going to throw a teaser out there. I've got a meeting tomorrow at 2 o'clock. So I should be able to share a whole lot more details with you after that. But I think you're going to be really excited about the event that we have planned for all of our students coming back to school.
Any idea when?
Well, I'll share that with you tomorrow. We're between two dates right now. It will either be August 7th or August 14th. So that will be decided for sure tomorrow.
And location will be decided hopefully by tomorrow too. Or at least pretty close.
I need to get it on my calendar.
So more information to follow.
Super.
Yes, we've been told it's all hands on deck. So I think it means the board too.
I've already been hit up, so I guess that's true.
We've been working that. So I will be in touch because we have some, as Amanda said, it's going to be all hands on deck. So we will get everybody a job, no doubt.
It'll be fun. It'll be a good day.
Any other questions? All right, well, we'll be anxious to hear more news as it develops.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we got micro-credential partnership with Ashton Middle School and ASU.
So we were, I was in a meeting and I had was listening to some partnerships that were available, and they said free PD, micro-credentials, and we're going to pay teachers. And I said, oh, my ears perked up. I said, well, who doesn't want to earn a little bit extra money to earn CEUs that you have to do anyway? So I brought it back to Dustin after I heard more about it, and he and his team listened. So we have a partnership with, it's actually through a grant. It's specifically for our middle school, and it's sustained individualized professional development for teachers, where they are going to have choice in what they learn about, and they get paid to complete the micro-credentials. So teachers can earn next year up to $750, which is a decent amount of extra money to actually earn the CEUs that they would like to earn. The CEUs are through Digital Promise. So if any of you are familiar with that organization in the space of digital curriculum, digital teaching and learning, and micro-credentials, they've really led the way over the last 10 years. But they are partnering with ASU, and our teachers get to be the beneficiaries of it. The great thing is, as I said, I wish all of our teachers had this opportunity. So last week, ASU sent me an email, and I included Julian on it. They are writing a new grant, partnering with the National Science Foundation for elementary teachers for a very similar platform. And so we're hopeful if that goes through, our elementary teachers will also have the opportunity to earn money by completing high quality vetted professional development modules that of their choice. And I love it because it's really personalized. Those of us that are teachers in this room, how often did we say, golly, do we all have to sit through the exact same thing all the time? And we wish that we could have it more personalized to our needs. Well, teachers now will have some choice in this professional development. So I love the concept, and I'm glad that we have such a great relationship with ASU that they think of us when it comes time to be beneficiaries of new models that are really what's good in teaching and learning. Excited about it.
Seems like an exciting adventure.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I think our teachers are excited. I know Dustin was too. So
It's great.
Sounds good.
hopefully we can expand on it.
Any questions? All right, well, county local budget, our last thing under this.
So I shared with you last week, it was approved through the county, the local budget. So I included the agency letter as well as what was approved. You can see that they essentially held us the same as they had over the last couple of years. So we're thankful. We're thankful that we did not have any cuts. As you all know, we will have continuing needs. my big concern moving forward, especially without a state budget, there are some bills out there that would increase pay of some classified employees. And so some of our classified employees are not paid through state, it's through local. So we'd have to make some really tough choices there in order to raise that minimum. We're lucky though in that not all of ours are paid at that very bottom level. But as you know, when you bring up the bottom, you also have to bring up others as well. So we're going to have to work toward a plan if that happens. But also the increase in our health insurance costs, that's huge. And so we are taking more and more of the brunt of it at the local level. And so while this is great that they've held us harmless, we're going to have to come back to the table and make some probably some tough choices if some of these other things go through without us having a serious long-term plan for how to handle that. Mandy, anything else to say about that?
Benefits increase, affects us a little over $300,000 on local every year. We've been able to make some cuts in other places to be able to cover that for this last year. Without knowing what the state's going to do on salaries yet, my best guess for our budget coming forward is that we may end up using fund balance. Hopefully not.
So we'll
try not to.
Well, we will hopefully be able to plan in advance, but sometimes, when these decisions are made, we already have a budget in place, we already have things set in motion. And so oftentimes, a lot of our money is spent in the beginning of the year versus toward the end. So, we have to, work on that long-term plan. So as soon as we have the information, we'll be working on it. But we know that that's going to be a challenge moving forward, being held even, especially when our costs are only increasing.
Well, the county has been very gracious to us.
They are very
especially with
gracious.
The new middle school that they agreed to the other day and keeping
Absolutely.
this the same. So our commissioners, I know
Yeah.
what they had to do budget-wise for the county is a hard
Absolutely.
thing for them to do and everything, but on our end, we appreciate their work on that.
We're very thankful. We have a great relationship with our commissioners. So thank you all to the commissioners. We appreciate the middle school, and we're working on our end to make tough choices. Thankfully this year we do have some things that we can do to through our COVID monies that we can address differently. So some of those needs from an HVAC perspective, we'll be able to address differently, but they're so restricted. So it's not like we can, replace some of the local dollars, but we do have some, a little bit of flexibility that, gives us the cushion that we might not have when those other decisions are made. I think that represents that accurately.
Any questions? Last part here, comments from the superintendent. I'll let you just touch on all three of those.
Absolutely. So strategic planning, we are well on our way, almost finished. We're going to be doing a gallery walk with bringing people in from who've worked on the strategic plan to look at it over the next couple of weeks so that we can get it into a form to present to you all in August. And then when you all have either a retreat or a work session, I'd like to focus on the strategic plan, take a deep dive and see, so that you can ask questions about it. And, if there's any additional input you all would like to give, that you have the opportunity to do that. I'm thankful for Dr. Simmons and Josh Roten, who served on that strategic planning committee, along with a group of 25 people from our community, and then many, many more teachers and students and administrators across our district who have helped to put strategies in place to meet the goals that the others set. So it's getting really close to being able to share with you all in the community, and I'm excited about it. From a COVID-19 update, golly, even in summer school, we're still monitoring COVID. I did sit in on a webinar today, though, however, through the ABC Collaborative. The one I sat in on a couple of days ago actually shared some of the data, and it looked really great from a public school standpoint, and shared that we're really have low instances of spread within schools. And so I'm happy to report that it is looking up, that we will be able to start school more normal. I don't know what more normal really looks like yet. We will learn soon, but some of the language may actually bring some choices to local school boards. So I will keep you informed on the choices that you all will have to make, if any, coming forward. So some of those are surrounding masks I heard of today, that it may come back to local school boards. So as soon as we hear definitively that that's where the responsibility will be, I'll make sure that you are well aware and in collaboration, with Jennifer Green, and have all the data that you need in order to make that decision here for our district. So those are coming fast and furious, and hopefully before school starts. And then salary study. I've been promising you about a salary study. I did get the information. Amanda has not had a chance to look at it yet because of all the budgets, finalization of this past year's budget. But that is next on her task, or on her list of things to do, is to look at the salary study suggestions and help us to put people in the actual spreadsheet so we can learn where we are, so we can ask some better questions about it and know where we need to go. A couple of the suggestions just off the top, we're really looking at additional steps within our classified salaries. Our ranges were actually pretty good compared to the Northwest RESA, but the actual steps were what was missing. And so, going 5 or 10 years without a bump is a big issue. And so that's, something that we're going to need to work toward. Our local supplement is like dead last of the districts in the RESA. So we are going to need to do some work, and that's for all employees across the district. So we need to do some work on that. But until we get it laid out from a financial standpoint and get a plan, and of course we can't do it all at once, we're going to have to do this over several years or a few years. But I think some of it is doable. We just need to make sure that we are aligned in other ways to make it happen. So as soon as Amanda and I have a chance to sit down and talk and get it put down for Ashe County people, not just the general statements, as soon as we're able to do that, we'll bring it to you all so you can see what what our highest priority areas are and what our next steps need to be.
This is good news. This has been a long time coming.
It's a long
Those
time
salary
coming.
tables have been messed up for so long. I knew it was never the bottom end of the salary and the top end because those are state mandated. They tell us what those are, and then we just figure out what the hourly rate is and pay them in between. It's that in between that got compressed when we went 8 years without a raise. So when you have somebody coming in brand new that's making the same as that person or more, it's not right. And we've known it was not right. It's just, where do you get the funding to correct it?
And so we will be working toward a process to make that what it needs to be. And they gave us a couple of options, one that has 1.5% and one that's a 1% increase over time. We'll run the numbers to see what's going to work best for us, and then what choices we need to make overall to make the best decisions on salaries.
It'll
So
take a little time to place everybody to put them where they're at now and put where they should be at on a new scale and get the difference so we don't know what's going on. So
Let's keep in mind a 1% for a cafeteria worker or a stove is much different than 1% for a director.
that was always Dr. Bedford's argument, that it was not,
it's not apples
a
to apples.
percent is not fair to the people on the scale.
So anyway, we just need a chance now that some of these other budgets are done, to sit down and look at it for our people, but we do have some really solid information. And then, Hank Hurd, who his accounting group, they've been in school finance for a long time. They've all worked in Amanda's roles or even in superintendent's roles. And so
Worked during Katrina days, so they're that top notch, high level.
they've been doing this a long time. So if we have some additional questions or want them to run some specific things for us to help us to make that transition, they can come in there and do that. And another thing that we'll have to look at, there's always the same amount of money, right? So we're going to have to figure out how to work differently with the money that we have. And that's another thing that they can help us with our priorities, with our strategic plan, with what we are providing at our different school sites in the district. They can look at that from a different lens to help us to understand where we might have efficiencies that we can capitalize on. The only other thing, and it's not on there, and this just is to make sure that the dates for a retreat or a work session for whether you want to do 2 days or one, and if those dates, the 19th and 20th of August, will work for you. So if not, that's okay. We can find a different date or dates. But I did want, since I have you all here, to make sure that those dates were dates, and maybe it's one or the other, will work for you to take a deeper dive into our strategic plan, plus whatever else you would like to have on that agenda. So that could include ESSER funds. And just make sure those dates are okay.
I don't typically like retreats, but I'm kind of excited about this one. It's gonna be.
Anybody have any conflicts?
The 19th and the 20th.
Of August, yes. And it 1 or 2 dates, that's up to you all. We can make it 1 or we can make it 2.
I've already talked about the 18th, which was earlier.
And I just,
I'll be back. I should be back by that time, but if something comes up, I would like to be here.
absolutely,
So the
absolutely.
later the better.
What's the will of the board? 1 day or 2 days?
With everything going on, I just seem try one personally.
And we can do, if you want to do one now, and then if you decide at that time that we need more time later, we can do that as well. We can be flexible. I just want to make sure that you all, that we're taking you along this journey, and there are so many different things that are happening with the strategic plan, with the ESSER funds that have come out of the sky. I want you all to make sure, that you all are well versed in it, because they're going to be around for a few years.
If we need a second, as you said, we always have it as soon as we need to.
You want to look at the 19th, the Thursday
That's fine.
for the retreat? Does that
And then
sound
if you
fine?
want to add another date later, we can do that as well.
What time do we start? 6:30?
AM or PM?
Some of us are here by 5:30 and 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm good with that.
I was always.
Now, I don't like to be here past 9, but. Can I say something just real quick, Josh? Tomorrow is Dr. Cox's anniversary with us, first year, and I just want to tell her how much I appreciate her in this hard year. First year superintendent, and she came in during a pandemic. She's brave, I do know that, and she's held us all to a higher standard. And we've worked really hard. But she has, I was probably the closest to Phyllis to anybody in this building. And I agreed Phyllis retiring, I really did. But Dr. Cox has come in. She has put things in place that are making us better. And I really appreciate her. And she's had a hard year personally too, so she has handled it all with grace.
And we appreciate that. I especially appreciate that. I know how hard you work.
I would say she's 80 hours a week is probably her average.
Yeah, phone calls at 6:30 in the afternoon. She hasn't come home yet on Sunday evening or whatever.
Yeah.
So we do appreciate it.
Thank you. It's a tough year for everybody in this pandemic. I mean, there's not one person that hasn't put in the hours. So we do what we need to do for kids.
We have an amazing group of directors and principals and teachers and
All around.
cafeteria custodians all the way around that have done what the right thing is for kids.
That's
It wasn't
right.
the easy way out, like some of the counties that didn't come back at all. And we did the right thing for kids.
It wasn't easy.
Hey, if we make our decisions for children, every single one of them, we can't go wrong. I mean, we might not get it right all the time, but if we're doing what's best for children and we're all working toward that same goal, we will get it right. We will get it right.
You can lay your head down tonight on the decision you made. Then you've made the right decision.
Well, I guess 6:30 is out, then, isn't it?
Well, to me, this, for this type of a retreat, to really take a deep dive into the strategic plan, to allow the departments an opportunity to share their goals and what we were really working toward. I envision this being an all day, but, certainly we don't have to be there at 9:00 at night or anything. That would be much appreciated, I'm sure.
2 days and then you go. It
Um,
would be hard to feel like you go at 8:00 in the morning. We do two hot
We can do
days.
that.
So,
I mean, we can do an 8 to 3 and 8 to 4 and take an hour lunch. I'll feed you. I promise we'll feed you. And it's up to you all though. I mean, whatever you guys can endure. I mean, that's what
Well, we've had a long day today, but there's been things that we've been able to talk about that we haven't before. So if we're going to do it, I'd rather do it a day, whatever that looks like. I'm very flexible. I'm just going to do at least a day.
the interview day was hard too, from 8:00 to 1. We should get hours for that. Seriously, that was a hard day when we interviewed the different companies. I don't know if that's possible or not. I'm just trying to get a freebie here. Well, it was a hard day. So 8 to 3 or 4 suits me, like hour for lunch.
So then the other option is we do have, we can do it here in this room. We could potentially do it at the high school or at another school site if you would prefer to do that. And then we also have, because we have some money through a grant or something with Laurel Ridge, we could do it at Laurel Ridge. That would already cost us anything, even the lunch and the breakfast, because it's something that's already been, I don't know, it's already there somehow.
Yeah,
in his house.
But if you've not been to Laurel Ridge, oh my gosh, it's
It's
beautiful.
beautiful. So we could potentially do that as well. I would just need to reserve it. So if you were amenable to that, we could do that and you can have some nice pretty views and they'll feed us, breakfast and lunch and then maybe even leave at 3 o'clock so that you can get back home.
Does that sound fine?
Yeah, I
That's
think
great.
getting away from the building might be
I
better
think
for
that's a good
Okay.
idea.
Dr. Cox. Won't be on call that way.
I'm always on call, but yes, I understand. I think we're always on call, no matter what area you work in within a
So
school.
that's true.
So we'll look at August the 19th from 8 to 4 out there at Laurel Ridge for this work session.
And I'll get back to you to make sure that date is actually still okay with them, and if not.
If not, is the 20th fine? I mean, you could just check on either or.
Okay, yep, we'll check on it. Oh, maybe you're a little bit.
Any announcements or other information that anybody has? I know somebody's got a golf tournament coming up. They may want to put a plug in for.
So, first of all, I want to say to Diane, who works on every project that we have. I don't know what you had to do with the golf tournament before now, but Diane and Marcia. So anyway, you guys are incredible. So we do have a golf tournament, and I think we're about to be.
That's great.
So on July 22nd, so any needs specifically, Diane, that you can think of?
Well, any volunteers that'd like to come out and help Marcia? Unfortunately, some of the endowment board is going to be gone, and that's how I got involved early. We would appreciate your help. I know Dr. Simmons has offered to help us with that. So it's like Amy said, it's a community event, and you'd have to talk to Marcia. We're moving very quickly forward. We're still in the need of a couple of big door prizes. If anybody knows where I can harvest those, I would be glad to know. And people in Ashe County know I don't always want something when I show up at your doorstep, but most often I will. So Amy was asking me to help a while ago. So we're excited about that. Jefferson Landing has been so gracious to us, and we've made plans back when I was on the initial plans, back when COVID was still very rampant in our decisions, and they have been so gracious to adjust those to accommodate what we need now. And we couldn't ask for a better venue, and I hate I'm going to miss that, so I'm going to have to get somebody to take me out there on the slide. But it's going to be a good event, and we're excited about all of the monies that we raise going back into particular teachers' classrooms to spend on special projects that it's hard to get funding for. And last year was not a good year for our schools and their individual fundraising. Mm-hmm. So we're so excited that we have that opportunity to add maybe to that this year and do some more. And I've seen some really cool projects. So I'm looking forward to that.
Dr. Cox, could I intervene?
Yay, please.
Hi.
There you go.
So, Diane, I appreciate all that information you've given them. And I have just been given some information from Jefferson Landing that we are going to be allowed to have an afternoon start as well as the morning start, which means we can have more players. So if you know of someone new that wants to play, have them call me as soon as they can. So
that's July 22nd.
Yes.
It's a Thursday.
Thursday.
Marcia, thank you for all your hard work.
I appreciate everything you've done. I couldn't do it by myself. So, thank you.
Thank you, Marcia. Yeah, Marcia works tirelessly. That is a gift for her. She really, well, I'll say she at least acts like she enjoys it, but she is truly, it's truly a gift, and we're very thankful for her hard work, because certainly we wouldn't be able to pull it off without her.
Any other announcements or information anybody else needs? Hearing none, this will end our open session. We do have just one bit of business in closed session, so I will entertain a motion to go into closed session.
Make a motion, we go into closed session.
Do I have a second? Second. All right. All those in favor? Raise your hand. All right, we're into being the closed session here.